Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Scouts Athletics Activity Badge. Before we start, I'd like to mention that while there are a number of different levels to any activity badge, such as Activity Plus and Instructor, which you can look up individually, um, athletics itself has, oddly, its own specific badge that's one stage higher, yet it's not a staged badge. It's kind of interesting. It's called the Athletics Plus badge. I'll do a video on it in future. But what's worth mentioning is that that is essentially a stage higher than this athletics badge, but you can wear both simultaneously on your uniform, which is kind of strange. Um, I'm not sure why that is, but that is the case. There is Athletics and Athletics Plus. In terms of how this relates to other badges, other than Athletics Plus, I would mention that it could potentially be related to other such badges as perhaps cyclist. If you're going to combine two outdoor activities together and do athletics for one part and then cycling for another, for like a biathlon or a triathlon type deal. Other than that, tangentially related is the martial arts badge, which again is fairly similar to athletics in the sense that it is open air sort of physical activity. The most related one that I can think of are the physical recreation badges, which is to do with taking part in a sport regularly, um, which I will also have a video on soon, and the sports enthusiast badge, which is about explaining rules and equipment based on a sport or similar such thing, um, and you can get a badge for that as well. In terms of the Chief Scout Award and how this can contribute to the Chief Scout Award, I would mention mostly the fact that the Personal Challenge Award is one of the prerequisites for the Chief Scout Gold Award, and showing that you've developed in, for example, athletics over an extended period of time would count towards that Personal Challenge Award quite easily. In addition, there are relay events and other such things, team versions of athletic sports that can count towards both the Teamwork Challenge Award and the Team Leader Challenge Award, which are part of the Chief Scouts Gold Award. Especially if you are a leader listening to this, or you're someone who's not yet made the rank of patrol leader, then you can convince your scout leaders to make you the team leader of whatever athletic sport for the day it might be. Other than this, there is not much else that you can do to contribute to the Chief Scouts Gold Award. Potentially, you could do something in relation to the Adventure Challenge Award, but I'm not sure any athletics things are directly related to that. In any case, let's jump right into the requirements here. So number one, we have run through an appropriate warm-up and warm-down routine using all main muscle groups. Explain why both routines are important. You will note that there is no specific requirement on the amount of time. That I believe the Explorer version of this badge has a specific amount of time you have to warm up and warm down for. But of course, you want to make sure that you know how to do this and why it's important. The main one being that muscle damage occurs when your muscles aren't warmed up, and you perform less well when that's the case too. You're more likely to pull a muscle, etc., if you're not warmed up and warmed down. Number two here, moving on, is about safety rules in athletics, particularly throwing and jumping events. Obviously, javelin and shot put, they need to have proper monitoring of the area that you're operating in, as a javelin is essentially a spear. So you want to be very careful with that type of thing. And jumping events too, mostly for yourself, because if you're doing a high jump or a long jump and you don't have appropriate sort of sand or crash mats available, you can hurt yourself potentially. So be careful with that. Most appropriate clothing to wear, obviously this is to do probably with your footwear. You don't want to wear shoes that have virtually no soles on and no padding, because you could twist an ankle, etc. So being careful with that is very important, as well as making sure that you have appropriate like shorts and a top type thing, because you don't want to get too warm, that can lead to heat exhaustion potentially. The next slide we have is the sort of final slide for this, and it's the main one to be really concerned about when it comes down to the athletics badge. There's a list here of different events. You have to choose at least one from each of these categories, and you have to do 6 in total. This can be relatively easy if you do track events. If you go, for example, to a there are council-maintained stadiums and tracks usually out there, often nearby schools that you can use. And if you do these in succession during a scout event, then you can get almost all the requirements of the 6 done in one shot here. Of course, there are other ones here. The team events is the focus of that team leader and teamwork challenge badges that I was mentioning earlier. You can actually do some interesting things with, I believe, the World Challenge Award, actually. If you talk about, for example, the blindfold race and how that can relate to disability awareness and things of that nature. Additionally, there are other potential things to do, which are discus, shot put, javelin, high jump, long jump, etc. A number of these you can do very easily. Throwing a cricket ball, standing jump, sergeant jump. Those are very easy ones to get towards. There's 6. You just need a scout hut or some area outside the scout hut that you can do this in. I would mention that potentially, depending on how long you do this for, you could run the athletics badge over maybe 4 to 6 weeks and do, example, throwing a cricket ball and mark improvements and track improvements. And that would actually count towards your Skills Challenge Award sort of improvements section if you look up that award. That's pretty much it when it comes to the athletics badge. I would just advise you to essentially try and tie this in with the Personal Challenge Award where you can, as well as try and add some team events in there for the Team Leader Challenge and Teamwork Challenge Award. You could add in the Skills Challenge potentially if you run this over 4 to 6 weeks and track people's improvements, but that's quite a commitment, so your own discretion is advised on that. And again, be aware that there is an Athletics Plus badge if you are a scout or you know a scout who is particularly athletic and already does a lot of athletics in school. It may be worth them not only getting the athletics badge, but also getting the Athletics Plus badge. And of course, as with any scout badge or badge in scouting, really, this is one of those badges that if you've already done the requirements at some point outside of scouting, if you provide evidence to your scout leader, they will sign it off for you immediately, pretty much, and get that to you. That's it for now. Hopefully that's been useful. Thanks. And finally, I'd just like to add that you can also do this final point here, which is find out and explain to your leader how to take part in athletics in your local area. Obviously, if you're still in school, then that's quite easy. There will be athletics clubs and things like that, most likely. If not, there will of course be youth clubs for athletics, similar to how there are usually youth clubs for swimming and things like that. You just need to find out the name of one potentially and show that to your leader. Easy enough to do.